What is going on, guys? It's your boy here again, Dean, giving you guys the hotness from the Japanese Twitter. Are we all excited for Omens Eternal? Because I know I am, and Swordcraft is one that I have my eyes on. And let me preface this with a couple things, and that is, number one, these are Japanese decks that people have, played with, and I really like the look of. So these are going to be some of the first things that I sleeve. So you know that I'm not just bullshitting with you guys with this. Number two, this format outside of your Grand Showdown qualifier doesn't really matter. So that means feel free to play some of the funny stuff. And that's kind of what I'm bringing to you guys today, because I loved some ideas, some deck building philosophies that went into this deck. And I want to share that with you guys. Some really sick things about this, because this is not just a normal loot deck. It's got some sick tech that I really do want to, I like some really cool, interesting philosophies behind it. We're going to see here 44 cards starting out, and there's a big reason for that. We'll talk about that when I get to the card. But no, this number 44 is actually insane. This is like some next level deck building. But yeah, let's get into this deck. It's more like a mid-rangey deck. So we're going to be playing a little bit slower cards than you're used to in Sword, and that's number one, the Bell Ringer Angel. Everyone knows her. She's been around forever. Just ward, last words, draw a card. Evil for 2. Pop your opponent's card, deals 2 damage. This card exerts a lot of pressure on the board. Just putting it down can sometimes disincentivize random decks from being able to do like the plays that they want to. Just all around a good card. Double Made Leader on Evolve. We're going to be able to search a card with Evolve on its card text. It helps us get Leonidas and, not have to Gemstaff for it. Just an okay searcher. I think this card's mid. That's why we play 2. It's not very important. More importantly, though, we do have Servant of Usurpation, one of the newer cards in the set. This is going to be able to mill the top card of our opponent's deck. Each time our opponent mills, we get a extra attack, and then on play, our opponent mills. So this thing is basically a 2/2, and then if we play other Usurpation cards after, our opponent will have to deal with this thing being like 3/2, 4/2. Absolutely massive. Good card. Definitely a huge boon. Swordsman. This card taps our opponent's card, so we can kill them. I don't know. This card's kind of shit. I am not the biggest fan of this card. I don't know what it's doing. It helps our Leonidas, but it's like mid-ish. I don't like the 1 health basically in this format. I don't like this 1 health like almost ever. But it's an okay Swordcraft card. I understand. We're going to put something in the deck. That one's probably cuttable. Then onto the 2-drops. The only 2-drops we have we're starting off, I guess, is Fina, Dynamite Daredevil, new card, Fanfare. Choose one of the following. Either we can top check 5 for a 1 play point follower and add it to our hand and put the rest in the bottom. Or we can pop a 1-drop on our opponent's board. Basically, if we are going first, it's an anti-aggro tool. If we are going, if we're going second or first, it can be used either an anti-aggro tool or it's like a consistency card. Very flexible card. I think this card's pretty good. I like the aggressive stat line 3/2. It's pretty good. If our opponent's playing a slower deck, it can sometimes just like smack them up, which is what we want to be doing with Sword. We have the Octress, the 2-mana 2/2, evolve for 2, or we can evolve for 0 if our opponent has 10 cards in the drop. And on play, our opponent's going to be milling 2, helping us get that cheap Fanfare, or that cheap evolve cost. And then we have the pay 8, selecting a card in our opponent's cemetery and play it for 0. So if it's turn 10, basically, we get to hopefully steal something good. I don't know what we get to steal. This effect is always a little whack. I don't know what we're supposed to be doing with it. But on Evolve, we're able to steal a card from our opponent's grave and put it into our EX area and then play it for 2 less. And then we still have the pay 8. I don't know. I don't know what we're stealing. I think it's funny that we can hold cards hostage in our opponent's in our EX area from our opponent. Like steal explosions. We can steal Humpties. I think all of that's really funny. I don't know what we're stealing that's good. And I don't know what we're playing that's good. But it can do, if you look at your opponent's grave, you'll know if it's good or not. We're on double Surefire Bullet, helps us stay alive. Triple Usurping Spineblade, newer card. There we go. Select an enemy follower on the field, deal 3 damage to it. Each opponent puts the top card of their deck into the grave. And if there is 10 or more cards in your opponent's grave, deal 2 more damage to the enemy follower. It's 2 mana, deal 5. Quick. Also buffs our 1-drop and helps us get our stuff online faster. Very good card. A lot of damage. In the early game, 2 mana removal, probably what's on the board, right? And then in the late game, 2 mana removal for probably what's on the board. 5 mana or 5 damage is pretty good even into the late game. So usually going to be able to, do what it needs to. We're on triple Disciple of Usurpation. This card has Storm and Strike. Our opponent mills a card. And then if they have at least 10 cards in the grave, this card is a 5/2. Super aggressive card, super strong card. It's going to be able to chip away at our opponent's life total. We don't need to do a lot in this deck. We only need to do about 12. Plus however much they heal. So definitely a good card. And of course, like all StarCraft cards, after the Leonidas banner comes down, this card is an absolute menace to deal with. Triple Floral Fencer, definitely a okay sword card. I'm always iffy on this one. I do think that it's pretty good. It's 7/7 worth of stats across 3 bodies. And it's just a decent tempo play on 3 or 4, depending on if we went first or second. Triple Gem Staff. This card is ass. Yeah, it searches our deck for a Swordcraft follower. However, it has terrible stats, so it is what it is. Triple Apostle of Usurpation. The new card, 4 mana, 3/4. Each player mills 2. If they have 10 cards in their grave, we're going to be drawing a card. That's nice. And then on Evolve, remind you, this is basically 5 mana commitment. To evolve him, we're going to be playing 2 of that. We get to select an enemy follower in the field and deal 4 damage to it. Is this good enough? It's mill for the archetype. It's card draw. It's okay. Double Olivia. I don't like this. I don't know what this Olivia is doing in the deck. Once again, I copied a Japanese list. It's got a lot of sick things in it. Maybe this card will feel better when I'm playing the deck, but I really doubt it because I've played with this card a lot. We can make our opponent discard, which is probably what we're doing. We can get Eva Warp, probably also what we're doing. And we can draw a card, probably not what we're doing, for a big reason. So, and it does something else. Oh, we can heal 3. Heal's okay. I do wonder about this guy. I think it's just part of like the mid-range package. We're on a bunch of mid-range cards, so it's like okay. Triple Alexander. I want to know what this is for. Maybe egg. It's got Rush's Sail. He gets to clear up the board. It's an AoE board wipe. Do we need it? It's nice to have, I guess. Yeah, I don't know what he's doing. I don't know what he's doing. Single Leonidas. I do like this. I do think if you're playing Sword, you want single Leonidas. Card is a horrific brick, but you do want to see it, especially in a mid-range deck. So, like, you played the 1/1 split, and you just search it in the early game. I do like that part. Okay, now why this deck is sick. And that is the Magna Legacy. Okay. New card. On play, we banish the top half of our deck, round it up, deal 4 damage to all enemy followers and the enemy leader. But if we banished at least 15 cards, 8 damage instead. What does that mean? Okay, so half rounded up means that 29 cards have to be in our deck. If we think about the way that the deck works normally, you have a 40-card deck. You start off with 4 in hand, so you have a 36-card deck. If you go first, you do not draw. If you go second, you do draw. So by turn 8, you have drawn 8 cards plus the 4, which is 12, which would put you at a 28-card deck going second. If you go first, you would have drawn 1 less, which is 11, which means that you would have a 29-card deck. If you go first, the Magna Legacy on a 40-card deck will always deal 8. 8 damage for 8 mana face is on curve for what Sword wants to be doing. If you look at every other Swordcraft card, especially in the past, Novice Trooper, Quick Blader, the cards that people like play outside of this new Servant card, it is 1 mana for 1 damage. It's Demonic Strike tier. So this card, as long as you get the 8, is actually on curve. So if you play 41 cards, you can, as long as you do not play additional draw and you go second, you would be able to fire this every single game as long as you drop it on 8. However, we do need to search it. We have the gem staffs to search it. And then we have a couple other cards that may, like, mill our deck. We've got, like, the Bellringer Angels. We've got the Maid Leaders. And then we've got this, like, Apostle guy. Or is the Apostle? Is that what he is? Yeah, the Apostle of Usurpation. This guy with the monocle, whatever it is. So if we go to 44 cards, we get a 3-card buffer going second, a 4-card buffer going first, where we are able to, like, play down a Maid Leader or a Bellringer on curve, play down a Fina on curve, and maybe Evo this guy, or maybe play a Gem Staff. Basically, we get 3 additional draws going second, and 4 additional draws going first, and still have this cleaning up the board. I love this deck building where you're like, okay, I'll sacrifice a little bit of consistency, but I'll be able to get this huge payoff on the sick card. And I think that this is fun. I think some of these slower cards, maybe you could cut some of those. But this thing, some package like this where you're on a deck count similar, trying to get to a similar turn, maybe with a few less control pieces than this one played. I think that's a sick deck. I think that's actually a very strong deck. Maybe we're playing the Triple Alexander because we want to see it every game on 6, but we have to search out the cannon. I'm not exactly sure. And then we have double Narita Brine because we're a slow control deck. This card is okay. It's definitely goodish. I don't know. I won't say it's like super good. It's goodish into some matchups. But yeah, so that's the Swordcraft deck. I really wanted to share it with you guys because it had some unique deck building philosophies behind it. And you get to sleeve up some sick-ass cards from the new set. And that's what it's all about. And if you guys like that, hit that like button. Smash that notification bell. Because, God, it's hard starting over. But it is what it is. And I hope to see you guys when I give you guys the sickest rune deck that I could find. And until next time, this is Dean signing out.